So keys to success number 120 something.
125?
125 or 126, something like that. It's right in there. Keys to success. Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Rutherford, functional medicine, certified functional medicine practitioner and chiropractor.
Dr. Randall Gates, board certified chiropractic neurologist, also a chiropractor.
So basically this key to success is about, doc, if I can't come in, or if I can't, I have a relative, I have a friend, I have somebody, but they can't come in, they're not here, they're out of town, or something like that, or what would be the one thing you could tell them that could help them? And of course the person has every symptom, possibly known to man, and there isn't one thing, but I don't know what I used to tell them. I used to say one thing I can tell people for sure is get off of gluten.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. You put it in the book that's coming out some century from now, and you put it in there about the studies on how gluten really probably shouldn't be eaten by anybody. You were talking about that study not long ago.
As long as you get your vitamins, because I don't want to hear from people saying, oh, well, if you don't eat cereal grains, you don't get the vitamin-rich foods. Well,
right.
Say, then take your multivitamin and you'll be covered.
So that used to be my go-to. Occasionally, I would tell people if the vitamin D is really low in the toilet, they should get it really, really, really at least into the normal range, because low vitamin D in our world usually means autoimmunity. Some people can get it into the normal range and see some change. Usually, the types of patients that come in here aren't going to see a huge change from that, but occasionally. But those are two things that are safe. But I was reading an article the other day. You probably saw it. It was all over every newspaper, every television station, and it was relative to the twin astronauts who, the one went into space, the other one has never gone into deep space, or it was mainly down on the ground or just in orbital space in their time. And they took their DNA and they took readings on their proteins and cytokines, which are inflammatory messengers, and a few other things. They just took a bunch of markers. And compared what happened. The one guy comes down and the headline was, they're no longer twins. But they are again now because their DNA has already changed back. But the point was, they made a big deal out of the fact that part of their gene expression changed. So a lot of you may still think that once you're born, you're born into your DNA, and then that's it, and then that's what you get. But the reality is I've seen estimates of up to a third of our DNA is actually kind of amorphous. It changes with environmental changes and diet and stress and sleep and all those things, and the way you think. And so anyway, they saw this, and there was this huge story as to how they weren't twins anymore, and the expression changed because when they were in space, to make a long story short, their physiology was stressed. They were stressed. They talked fancily. They talked about oxidative phosphorylation, which is inflammatory issues, stress. They talked about inflammation, which people have been talking about for years, and they said, "Oh my God," And then when the gentleman came back, and he was able to get back into a routine, his DNA changed back, and now he's a twin again. I think what struck me about that was, and I was expressing this to Kevin, the producer, beforehand, they were talking about gene expression, altered gene expression. They were talking about inflammation. They were talking about oxidative phosphorylation and stress, and all these things relative to chronic pain when I got into functional medicine. I mean, this is something that's not new. Okay, this is something that's been going on for a long time, and it's also something that Dr. Gates pretty much handles. Pretty much, that's all the stuff he's treating when he's treating you. My key to success today was today. If people asked me what would be the number one thing I could tell that person to do, it's a little bit more of a general recommendation, but observing our patient population, if that person's under chronic stress, I would say the first thing you have to do is to get that person to understand that they're under chronic stress, and if so, they need to start taking measures to get that stress response under control, because that seems to be the big X factor in people at least getting better, but definitely in staying better. And that all goes towards, that's being handled here. I happen to know that when Dr. Gates walks through the protocol, the logarithm that has been developed, then that's his first attack. His first attack is on those stress responses. And he utilizes brain exercises. Some people, the brain exercises alone dampen the stress substantially. Other people need different forms of herbs and botanicals. Some people are so bad that it's just like stay on your medication until we can get you off of it. But the stress response, to me, looms large and screams more than anything else that that it needs to get under control and be kept under control. And I wouldn't underestimate the power of these brain rehab exercises. I wouldn't underestimate the power of the visualization exercises. I know we filmed it was one of a zillion breathing exercises and techniques that cause your brain stem to be able to calm you down. Simple, gentle breathing exercises can do it. Going to counseling for some people, I'm talking about people who are like, again, the question is, what can I tell this person to do? You know, my initial response is really what I want to say is these are so complex. I don't even know where to begin to tell you what one thing a person could do. But I've changed from gluten to probably do whatever you can to tell them to, I don't care whether you have to do yoga, whether they have to do deep breathing exercise, whatever they have to do. And if it's not working, it's not working. Now they really know they have to get somewhere, because their level of stress then is beyond the ability to respond to simply calming down, you know, brainstem function, or strengthening brainstem function, I should say. So do his exercise, do the exercises, do the breathing techniques,
well, and just
do
be
the
cognizant of how you
visualizations.
feel when you do those, and then say, wow, I feel actually more relaxed it could be 2 minutes. But that 2 minutes is what we want to expand upon all day long. I know I had my first glimpse into this by doing the lunchtime workouts recommended by one of our patients who was a general basically in the Marine Corps. And he said that really helped him to manage his stress. So I thought, well, if it worked for him, it worked for me. This is way far back. So I started doing that, and I would immediately notice after I did the workout, I'd be like, wow, I feel really calm. I hadn't felt like that all morning. So you just try to get into that window of being calm, like Dr. Rutherford is saying, whatever the modality is, whether it's the stress relaxation exercises, meditation, brain exercises, and then try to be more and more in that state as much as you can all day long. And the more you do that, the more your physiology is going to heal.
Yeah, and changing your daily activities if that's what it is. And sometimes that's the hardest thing to do. But the stress response is taking us down as a society. I turned on the radio this morning. I always turn on the radio first thing in the morning. I want to hear the sports. I want to hear the news, just a blurb, and I want to hear the weather and road reports. And in that short period of time, I find I have to really focus, because there's that news segment, and there's a disaster here, and there's a bombing over there, and there's a school shooting here, and then there's going to be bad weather on the West Coast, and there's going to be landslides, and they're going to the store in New York City because they're going to have bad weather, and they're all going to go to the store, and the stores are going to be empty of milk and bread. And that was this morning, and it was just like, you know, I just focus, and I just like, you know, but the reality is that stuff is what we're being exposed to all day long, and then some. So I think the stress response really screams to me now when people ask me, what one thing can I tell somebody to attend to who isn't going to be able to get here, they're not around, whatever it is. I think the stress response is number one, and that leads me to those folks who stop doing those exercises. Those are the folks that we hear from. So that's keys to success number, whatever it was.
124?
124.
All right.
That was keys to success, 124. So we'll see you next week with 125. And I hope this was helpful.
Thanks for watching.